This is the new 2026 Peugeot 3008, which promises to be an exciting new era for Peugeot. And I can see why, because the 3008 was kind of introduced as a bit of an ugly duckling in the SUV world, and I hope you can agree this one is much more handsome. And it's here to take on the likes of some really popular options such as the Kia Sportage, the Hyundai Tucson, and even electric cars such as the Tesla Model Y, and also some good hybrids like the Nissan Qashqai. So what does this do that makes it a little bit different? It's quite a comfortable car, and it's got a very high tech and a very plush interior, but does it do enough to take your cash versus those rivals? That is what I'm here to find out today. So join me on a full tour of the 3008, and I'm also going to take it out on the road and put it through its paces and see what you think. But before we do that, if you're looking to sell your car, do it the easy way with my CarWow affiliate link that helps the channel out. All you've got to do is put your reg in, you'll get an instant valuation, and if you choose to accept a dealership offer, in a few days you will have money in your account and they'll come and collect the car from your home. So easy. And if you're looking to buy a car, we can do that easy for you too with my affiliate Players Cars Premium. Links in the description below. We will be able to source any car that you like, as low as 6.9% APR finance, super easy. WhatsApp 24/7, don't worry about trying to email us, we can be contacted at all times a day. So it makes it super easy to get hold of the car you want very quickly. So looking to buy or sell, links below. So there's a lot of choice with the 3008 on this new platform. You can either get a mild hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, or a fully electric version with varying trim levels as well. What you will be glad to know is that the entry-level trim is actually pretty generously spec'd as standard. So the Allure entry-level model comes with the panoramic curved eye cockpit display with the dual screens, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, adaptive cruise, rear parking sensors, 19-inch alloys and ambient lighting as standard, which is a nice touch. The pricing starts from just under £38,000 for the normal hybrids, just under £41,000 for the plug-in, and just over £46,000 for the electric. For a couple of grand more, you get the GT, which is the sportier premium trim, which has matrix LED headlights, a sports styling pack, larger wheels, heated seats and steering wheel, upgraded driver assist, and some enhanced interior materials with Napa leather option. The one I have here today is the plug-in hybrid Allure model, but it does have some options. So some of the things that you can get on the higher trims you can get lower down, such as the AGR seats for £300 on this car, which I highly recommend. So standard self-charging hybrid is a 1.2 litre turbo with 48 volt mild hybrid, 145 horsepower, front wheel drive with an auto gearbox. That one has a new electrified dual clutch gearbox, so it's actually got an electric motor built inside the gearbox to help with assisting acceleration and low speed electric driving. So that makes it a lot smoother when switching from the electric power to the petrol engine, and the gear change is obviously handled by the dual clutch. So it's actually quite a clever system. Then there's the petrol plug-in hybrid, so that's this one that I've got here, a 1.6 petrol engine with an electric motor, 195 horsepower and around sort of 50 miles of electric claim. So that's not too bad if you're just pottering around town. That's kind of what you'd expect for a modern car really. Last but not least, a few options for the electric 3008. So 160 kilowatt fast charging on that with 20 to 80% charge in around 30 minutes. So you can either get a standard range, long range or a dual motor. The dual motor one is all-wheel drive. The long range one has up to around 430 miles. And then the dual motor one is a more performance variant with 320 horsepower. Obviously the plug-in hybrid will be useful if you can charge at home or if you're a company car driver for the benefit in kind, and also just for that extra kind of electric shove around town. But the mild hybrid system, like I said, with that new gearbox, does work really well and isn't really a jerky experience at all. It's one of the better hybrid systems out there. And this is built on the new Stellantis STLA medium architecture, which is designed primarily for electric cars. So it has a flat floor pan, which is interesting because it means that even on the petrol cars, you don't really get any rear transmission tunnels in the back. It's a flat floor. And I've seen on the dash with this plug-in hybrid as high as over 600 miles of range with the petrol motor included. Personally, I think it's quite a saturated options list in terms of all the different trims you can get in that, but it does mean there is something for everyone. And as you can see, this definitely, I think, is a more handsome car than the one that it replaces. You've got this whole new front end, you have the typical Peugeot kind of claw effect for the lights, which is nice, and this new front grille, which kind of closes off onto the badge in the middle, which is really cool. So you've got the actual Peugeot badge there and then 3008 just above it with a nice little grille design. I think it looks really good. And the radar is also built into this same kind of system. So you can see you've got that on the lower grille just down there. And I like the new Peugeot badge and branding. I do think it looks good. From the front, this does look really sharp overall. It definitely has a lot of road presence, quite a nice looking car, but the wheels I don't really love. I'm not a massive fan of the design, but obviously it varies based on which model you get. On this one there is some kind of diamond cut, a lot of gloss though, so as you can see they can get a little bit dirty, but the profile of the car is pretty interesting because we've got this more kind of swooping line. It's now that sort of fastback shape rather than your traditional SUV. It just means that obviously cargo space is eaten into a little bit, but it does create quite a nice design, doesn't it? As you can see at the back here, we've got a new rear tail light design, which I'll show you switched on as well, but it's again very similar to kind of the claw effects that you see on the front. You've got the kind of fin spoiler design at the back, which is quite interesting. Around this side we've got the flap for the charging, so you can just open that there. You can see nice and easy to access with a little charging indicator in there. And yeah, I think it's just quite a nice design. I also quite like the bottom area of the bumper. I think that works quite nicely as well, just creates a little bit of extra effect on the car. And yeah, the rear lights nicely integrated. It's just a nice little shape, isn't it? I think so. The original 3008 was a really disgraceful looking car in my opinion, and this looks really sharp and really nice. I really like it. I do quite like this metallic blue as well. It's not my favorite color, but it definitely pops in the sun, as you can see. And yeah, just the front end, I just really like the design. It's a little bit different, isn't it? A little bit sharper than some other cars that you might see on the road today. So let's head inside and I'll show you what I think then. We've got a touch sensor on the door, but it will open as you approach the car with the keyless entry. It's kind of got this like denim texture to it, which is really nice. You can see runs along here. We've got some nice kind of ribbing to the seats. This front portion is adjustable. You can move this in and out, which is nice for your thigh support. And this will allow you to tilt the front portion of the seat up and down, which makes a nice difference. You can see we've got AGR comfort. They're very serious about ergonomics in here when it comes to the seats. Unfortunately though, the driving position is a little bit awkward, but we'll go on to that in a bit. We also have lumbar adjustment and also the tilt and recline and so on. And this material carries on to all different portions of the car. So on the door card here, you can see we've got this same kind of denim-y material. It feels really nice quality. And up here, it's kind of like a rubberized plastic. So nothing too great, but it is a bit squishy, which is nice. And then down here, some more squish on the armrest portion. And these buttons, all functional. They feel okay, nothing too special, but no glossy plastic in there to be annoyed about. Got a decent sized door pocket as well, which will, as you can see, host a large bottle, which is always a plus. And even though this is the entry-level car, it's a bit dark and dingy because you don't get the option of a sunroof in this one, but as you can see, still a really premium looking cabin, really interesting material choices, lots of angles, lots of sharp lines. It's almost as though someone's asked someone to draw the interior of a Lamborghini Urus from memory. So let's hop in and I'll show you a bit more around this cabin. Now, the ergonomics of Peugeot is always quite interesting because the steering wheel is mounted kind of below the dash. There's lots of tilt and telescopic adjustment on it, so you can get it kind of where you want, but obviously there's the option for it to block the screen depending on where you're sitting. Now I've got my seat quite high up with this thigh support quite high up, but it does mean that things are a little bit far away for me to reach. I can just about reach the screen unless I lean forward. Let's press the brake and press the start button and the car will fire up. You can see all the screens come to life, and this is quite an interesting system, but lots of customization, but it's a little bit fiddly to use, I would say. Ambient lighting across the board though, which is standard. I like that. I like the fact that Peugeot are including that regardless of which model you go for. Always a really nice touch. And I just love the combination of materials. Look at this kind of fabric up here. You've then got this texture on the dash. This is all soft touch material up here. You've got the kind of Euro style vents, and this kind of continues onto the doors in this kind of sweeping motion. All of this is angled, which is a bit weird, but it just means that everything looks really cool. I've still got somewhere for my elbow to rest. Easy adjustment of these vents, which has some integrated lines into the dash there. And then this steering wheel, which looks to me like it's upside down. It's kind of like a squared off two-spoke design. Nice and light though, really easy to use. You've got some paddles on the back, which have very limited travel. They feel a bit cheap, but it's nice that they're there and they exist. What is nice though is the indicator stalks, probably one of the best I have used in a while. Just has a really solid, clunky actuation. It feels amazing to use. And then you've also got like your light controls on there as well, wipers on the other side, and some physical controls on the steering wheel. Unfortunately, it's kind of this one big button thing, but it's not touch. Yay! So physical controls, you've got your kind of ADAS stuff here in terms of your cruise control, adaptive cruise and stuff like that. Not as comprehensive as the Kia Hyundai stuff. On there, you can just touch one button and the car will start steering itself. This is a bit more of a complex system for cruise control, but it's nice that it's easily accessible there. The new Peugeot emblem, very lovely. And then on this side, your media control. So you've got your voice control, track skip and so on, volume, all that good stuff. Functional, works well. I like the fact there's a little bit of gloss black in here to break it up. Some down here as well. It's not too bad, it's not too smudgy, and it's just enough, I think. It's just enough to lift the cabin without being inconvenient. What is cool as well is you've got some integrated bits down here. So nothing really at the end there, but this is kind of an area you could put a phone if you wanted to. Then it's got a little latch that you press that opens up into a large storage area with power at the bottom, and you've got 2 USB-Cs, one for just power and one for connecting your Apple CarPlay, which is wireless as well if you want it to be. Closed up, it stores it away nicely. And then you've got some cup holders with nice grippers in. These are really good and they just feel high quality. Everything in here feels nice to touch. Even the rubbish materials down the bottom, normally in many other cars, feel atrocious. In this, everything feels super solid, super nice and super high end. I've got to say, really impressed with that. In the center here, we've got another kind of carpeted sort of that denim effect fabric in this particular model. And in here, a nice large area, really deep well, with a removable storage tray as well. So lots of practicality. This just folds away nicely and provides a nice space for my elbow to rest. Your electronic parking brake down here, nice volume media dial. So you can adjust that on the fly and you kind of just rest your hand here. You can just scroll through that. Lovely, easy access. Hazard switch, drive mode select here, which is nice and simple as well. You cycle through, you can either have sport, which will use the engine the most, hybrid, which uses a nice combination of the two, or all electric mode, which will keep it in completely electric. So really easy, no kind of messing around with that. I like the fact that it's a toggle, and I like that the options are super simple. And there are some physical climate controls. So there is an off button, there's also an auto. What is a little bit awkward, I think, is the gear select. It's quite far away, it's up here. So it's just a toggle switch, so up for park, down for drive, reverse, and B is your engine braking mode. So if you press that, it means that there's a bit more regen braking, and when you come off the throttle, it will brake a little bit more for you. So not quite like the level of an electric car unless you're in the EV version, but in this petrol hybrid version, it just increases that effect somewhat. I do like the cockpit display. That is something I've got to say I do enjoy. The actual displays themselves, really crisp, really clear, and I love this kind of floating effect. It's like one big panel almost that goes across the whole dash. You can see it looks really cool, and it's completely kind of floating there, which is nice. And the ambient light runs along underneath it, which looks really good. And it almost looks completely seamless, so that's really nice as well. What I will say though is the actual infotainment screen is a little bit complicated to use. So there's a few different menus, and of course it does support Apple CarPlay, which is really nice, and there are some shortcuts down here. So this is kind of like an easy reach shortcut system, so you can kind of go through and you can go settings and then it will reflect on this screen. So there's a few things that you can do. Press home, so it's almost like having shortcuts that you can just quickly tap that are large, which is nice. So you can go into your ADAS controls, turn off your like speed warning and stuff. The speed warning is not too bad though. It's just kind of like a clunk clunk, as if you've driven over a cat's eye, so it's not that invasive compared to some others. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a fussy system. There are a shortcuts bit here as well. There's multiple driver profiles and connectivity and so on, but I just find it a little bit hard to navigate. So for example, if I want to change what's on this screen, because it is customizable, at the moment I've got the rev counter and I've got some travel information, but you can make this a map, and you can also integrate it so you have 2-screen Apple CarPlay, which is really nice because you can have your maps right in front of you in the cockpit, and then on the left you can have your media, music, whatever. So if I want to do that, what I've got to do is I've got to go into these settings. I've then got to find where I'm going. So let's try going home. Then let's go into these settings here. There we go, customization, display customization. And now I've got the option to customize driver information. So now I can switch between a few different screens. I can customize a few to my liking, and then I can switch between them. So if I want the maps one, I think I've got it set to 2. Yeah, so that'll open up the full maps on this display, or the Apple CarPlay maps when I've got that active. It's just not quite as intuitive as some other brands in terms of how you utilize this screen, but there's enough information on there. Obviously you've got your range, tells you your electric range. I'm just out on this one at the moment, and also what mode it's in, your traffic sign recognition, and so on and so forth. Like, it's quite easy to understand, and there's nice crisp modern graphics, but it's a little bit kind of futuristic in its approach, and I just think this system is a little bit fussy, but I do appreciate that they've kind of added shortcuts here. That does make it better. That being said, Kia Hyundai stuff is just simply easier to use, and obviously Tesla is a different world compared to this as well, but for the most part I just appreciate the dual screen Apple CarPlay. There's also a space for your phone under here, which is rubberized, which is nice, and then over here you do have a pretty generous sized glove box. In the right hand drive cars, the fuse box is back there, so you don't get a full width one, but they've kind of added this extra little pocket in there, which is better than nothing, isn't it? If we head up top, out the back, you can see visibility, not too bad, but there is a large C-pillar and it's blocked off by the seats as well. But what I will say is the camera is really good. So if I go into reverse, let's put it up there into reverse, a top-down camera, which stitches 4 cameras together. And it also has a front cam, so you can select front cam, and when you reverse up to something, it will give you a kind of top-down preview of that area. So it switches from the normal reverse cam to like a top down that shows you a more precise version, which I think is really intuitive. It makes parking this thing really easy, and also you've got side cameras as well, which are built into the mirrors, so you can see your wheels. You can see exactly where the wheels are lined up with the curb, which is really, really good. As you're reversing as well, as you turn, the camera will also somewhat tilt, just to give you a little bit more perspective. And then up here, your usual plethora of, you know, you've got your vanity mirrors with LEDs. You've also got a quite cheap and nasty feeling sunglasses holder. That's probably the worst bit of the cabin, to be honest. And then your little lights up here, which have converted to these tiny little LEDs, which are quite powerful. Scratchy, horrible plastic up here. This is the worst bit of the cabin. The rest is fantastic quality. Really, really surpassed my expectations. And yeah, I think, just look at it. It looks really cool and futuristic. Some people will find this fussy, but I find it really cool. Everyone gets in this and says, wow, this is really interesting, isn't it? So as we head into the back, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Because of this roof line, you'd think that the headroom is quite bad, but it's not. It's actually good. The legroom is where this car suffers, just because of the fact that this opening isn't very big. However, you get the same nice quality back here in terms of the materials, which is nice, including an area for a bottle in the door. And because it's built on an EV platform, even in this petrol model, you have a completely flat floor. So no transmission hump in the middle, which is super interesting. There's also, if we get down here, a cubby for storage and some USB-Cs, power outlet, another little storage area and some rear ventilation as standard, and just a standard pocket in the back of the seat. However, this has a really nice kind of thick elasticated part to it, so it snaps back perfectly every time. This won't get saggy. There's no middle area to pull down, but you do have a nice simple latch to pull the rear seats, which is nice. I like that the patterns on the seats and everything, it's all continued back here, and in the Napa leather version they have some texture as well. I do think they've spent a lot of time making these feel comfortable. And then this is a nice large area for where you're inserting your Isofix. They're actually beneath these zippers, so it's a little bit fiddly to use because they're quite tight, but when you undo them, part the ways, and there they are in there beneath the foam. So it does mean that you won't really ruin the leather too much, but it will probably sag after a little while, and it is fiddly. What you will appreciate though is that this is a flat area, so it means that it is easy to mount those in. Headrests across the board as well, firm, but also have enough give to them to be nice and comfortable. So I'm really impressed with what they've done with the seats in here. So stepping into the back of the 3008 then, and unfortunately things are a little bit cramped back here compared to some of the rivals. This is set up in quite a low driving position with me at 6 foot, and to be fair, I could probably get away with moving this a little bit, and there is an indent in the seat for my knees, which makes it a little bit easier. But as you can see, it's more the angle of the seats that's the problem. But as you can see, I'd really have to kind of man spread back here to get any sort of support on my legs, which means for a long journey, this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable, I would say, which is a shame because it's really high quality back here. Obviously, I've got a flat floor, as I mentioned, because of the platform that this is built on, but even that middle seat, it's not going to be too practical. I can't fit my feet in there even without the transmission tunnel, so it's a bit of a missed opportunity. I have to swing right out as well to get out. It's quite awkward the way this opening works. Just not really too practical. That's going to be quite difficult for getting car seats and stuff in and out too. So yeah, it's just a little bit of a miss, but there is plenty of headroom, and overall the width is fine. So if you've got 2 adult passengers back here, absolutely okay. I wouldn't recommend an adult sitting in the middle. Obviously for some small kiddies it would be absolutely fine. It's definitely not terrible, but there are just some rivals that do it better than this. Cargo area. On this entry-level model, I don't have electric tailgate, but there's a button under here and I can lift that up. It's quite a large, heavy kind of load cover. I've left my bag and tripod in here just to show you the space. This is quite high as well, but the benefit is that you get a nice scuff lip here and a flat load area, which is good. And obviously, again, being built on an EV platform, it just gives you a bit of extra space. So you can see there are some practicalities as standard back here as well. So you've got a power outlet here, and then you've also got these straps built in. So this is like an elasticated strap for hooking stuff around. You've got some tie hooks over there as well. So there's a tie hook and your top tethers, and little areas back here with hooks in yet again. So there's definitely a few little practicalities, little shopping hook there, and it's definitely more impressive than some other cars. There is also a false floor, which has, in this case, your charging cables and bits and bobs underneath it. You can remove that. It's quite a deep well area, and you can get a spare in there if you want to. This is a 40-20-40 split though, which is nice. So you can tug up on this and then you can move that forward if you want to kind of put down a ski hatch in the middle. Makes it ideal for loading long items if you've still got 2 rear passengers, or you can just lean in and press these buttons. One thing I will unfortunately say is, in my driving position, that is going to snag that seat. Yep, it has. So let me put that forward like that. So with the headrests in position, this seat isn't going to go down fully, which is a little bit annoying. But you can see on this side the sort of area that you're going to create with that load through. So there's no extra bits of carpet to mess up or anything. It just creates a nice easy area. Bit of a ramp, but nothing too substantial. So you will be able to deal with that quite easily. Another thing is you've got to be careful because the seat belts, if they come off the seat, they will snag, which is slightly annoying. But if I come round to this side, you'll be able to see that I can put this up with one hand. And I don't think the seatbelt snagged from this side. No, it's just kind of stuck on here, which is ideal because I can then just go up with one hand, put that back into position, nice and easy. One thing I will praise it for is that it's a super easy 5-second job to just pop this load cover off. Just two things, give it a cock, there you go, it's as simple as that. But you're not really going to be able to fit it under the floor properly just because of the width of it, so that's a bit inconvenient. But obviously to pop it back on, it is the same process in reverse, really, really straightforward. Bang, bang, and clip, and you're done. Super simple. And a lot of cars get this wrong now. I think they kind of make it too complicated. This is fine. It just would be nice if it maybe folded in half or something so you could store it under here properly. So I think it's about time we close the car up. Let's take it out on the road and see what I think. So I'm going to put it into its sportiest mode just so that I can utilise the engine as most as possible. Obviously this one not being fully electric, I don't have that kind of instant shove, but the hybrid system does do a pretty good job of that. So I'm just going to stomp on it out of here and see what happens. To be fair, that electric motor does definitely help a little bit. I can hear the engine's quite gruff at the minute. Now it's changing up gears, so it's a bit better. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. And I was expecting wheel hop and that kind of thing from like the front wheel drive system. Obviously I can't speak for the electric version, but that's not bad at all because quite a few front wheel drive cars I've experienced in this sort of category, as soon as you stamp on it, it's duck, 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 duck as it struggles to put the power down. But the traction control system in this dealt with this really well. So off the bat, what I will say is that the ADAS systems aren't that intrusive, which is nice. So it will tug you back into the center of the lane, but it's not annoying, and nor are the speed bongs. The speed bongs are there and present, but they're not horrible like you might expect from some. As we head uphill a little bit here, I can feel the electric motor kicking in to give me that initial shove. Obviously the gearbox in the full self-charging hybrid version is going to be a little bit better because of that electronic motor built in, but it's not bad at all here. This is a very comfortable car, very manoeuvrable as well. That's one thing that I will say about it, is it's really good in terms of your day-to-day. It's much more impressive than I expected. It feels really tight, it deals with the imperfections in the road really well. It's comfortable, this seat is super comfortable. The only thing that I find a little bit confused is the ergonomics. Like, yes, I've got a place for my elbows, but it's an awkward driving position for me with my long gangly legs. I just feel it's a little bit, I had to tilt the seat right up, which means that I'm quite far away from everything. And thankfully the steering wheel isn't covering the screen for me. And I do actually like the iCockpit system because it's really in your eye line and it's very sort of compacted together. You've got this lovely wide screen that's really crisp and clear, but I can see everything in kind of my peripheral vision. And having the CarPlay on this main screen in front of me as well for the navigation means that I'm only glancing very briefly. So it's, I think, safer system, and I like the way it looks. It's kind of floating on the dash there. I think they've done a fantastic job with that. It's quite quiet in the cabin as well. It's the only time you really get a lot of noise is when obviously the engine really kicks in and you've got that gruff sound when it revs really high. But again, that's not really going to be too often, is it? I've got it in its regen braking mode at the moment, just so it's a little bit better around town. I can obviously lift off, I get a little bit more regen. And in the electric versions, it's going to feel quite nice as well. Not too firm, but the platform obviously handles both drivetrains pretty well. I'm quite impressed with it, to be honest. And I just wasn't expecting this level of tightness and fit and finish. Not only is the cabin really high quality, but just the way the suspension handles stuff and the way the car feels as I move it around, it just feels really tight and well put together. And yeah, the combination of this seat and this suspension for a longer journey, I think is going to be really pleasant. It's nice that you have that choice of drivetrain as well, because of course the self-charging hybrid is going to be probably a little bit more efficient if that's what you're using constantly. This one, in fairness, I'm still achieving sort of 35, 40 mpg when it's completely run out of charge, but obviously the optimum to get those silly mpg figures, you're going to want to have it fully charged and utilise the electric around town. But then the fact that there's a choice of a few different electric drivetrains as well means there really is something for everyone. And I like the fact that this being built on that new electric architecture means that you don't get those downsides of an electric car that's kind of been converted from a petrol platform. This is purpose built to be electric, and then there are just some petrol options thrown in. I want to test in this sport mode as well. Let's test the gearbox. So it's fairly responsive though, and the paddles are nice that they're there. I mean, I wouldn't find myself using it really, I don't think. The sort of gear shift experience and the fact that it goes between the normal drive and the electric drive is going to be smoother with that fancy electric motor dual clutch box. One thing this isn't going to win too many awards for though is its driving dynamics. Whilst the steering is really light and useful round town with a great turning circle, if I now throw it around this roundabout, you're going to see that it starts to come apart just a little bit. So I'm going to come to a complete stop here. Let's give it a little bit of beans. Electric shove off the line, which is nice. And then let's throw it round. So turning circle really tight here. I'm getting that. Actually, I'm quite impressed with how that handled that. I got some tyre squeal. It was holding on though. And for a front wheel drive car, there's not too much drama from that front end, which is nice. I mean, it might change in obviously icy and wet conditions, but it's not too bad out here at the moment. And you don't really notice that it hops and skips around. So whilst it doesn't have the dynamics of a rear-wheel drive car, it definitely isn't bad. The one thing you don't get a lot of is texture through the wheel. There's a slight delay to the input, but nothing dramatic, but it's definitely not a sporty dynamic. What you do find though is you can kind of feel the bumps, so that's nice. So you feel like you know what's going on beneath you, which is reassuring, but there's just not much texture in terms of the steering. Thankfully, it's quite easy to find the car's limits, and when you do, it's not actually that dramatic, as I just demonstrated. And this is enough power. It's not going to light your world on fire, but it's enough for your day-to-day. And obviously there are some more powerful versions with the electric version. Obviously the electric one's going to have more instant throttle response and just be smoother to drive around town. That being said though, the brakes on this are pretty good. They're not spongy and horrible like you might expect from some hybrids. If I give them a stab, yeah, feels pretty nice. Chuck it into a corner here. There's an okay amount of regen, obviously that's improved on the electric version as well. But there's some pedal feel, even though it feels like a heavy car, the body roll isn't too dramatic, but it doesn't feel sketchy. Some cars in this segment just feel really sketchy to drive. It feels a bit like the car might come unstuck at any moment. You don't really know what's going on. With this, you feel a little bit more connected to it. Even though you don't get much feel through the wheel, you still feel a bit connected to it. You still feel like you know what it's doing beneath you, and that's reassuring. So it's not sketchy, it's not fun, but it's not sketchy. Just feels very well put together. Obviously the added weight of the fully electric model will impact the ride firmness somewhat as well, but I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker. Now the price of these, obviously for a nice one, you're looking at probably the sort of £45,000 mark, which, you know, that's around sort of Tesla Model Y money, or a really nice Sportage or Hyundai Tucson, which maybe aren't quite as kind of tight as this, but I do think they win in the tech department, and they're also going to come with a slightly better warranty and after sales and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's definitely some things to consider. Those rivals also are going to be a little bit more practical if you're taking rear passengers frequently. But that being said, I am really impressed by the way this car drives, and also it's really nimble round town. The light steering, the great turning circle, and this impressive cabin just make it a nice thing to live with day to day. It's definitely a clever hybrid system as well, and it's nice and smooth to drive, but if you want something that is really smooth and also more economical, then something from Toyota, like a RAV4 for example, would probably be a good place to look, because that is a really, really good system. And it is nice that these hybrid systems are getting better and smoother for folks who can't yet go for an EV or just simply don't want to. So there we go guys, the Peugeot 3008. A car that seriously impresses, to be honest. I wasn't sure what to expect when getting in this, but the fit and finish of everything, the level of kind of tech and everything's really nice in here. Also, just the way it drives, it just feels tight and composed for your day-to-day driving. It's not the most exciting car in the world, and when you start stepping into the electric territory at sort of £50,000, that's when I would probably start to look elsewhere, because it is a little bit pricey. But if you can get a good deal on one, I'd say it's definitely worth looking at. And the hybrid ones are really good. So if you can live with some of the annoyances with the infotainment system and some of the impracticalities for rear passengers, then this is definitely a viable option for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I always appreciate all the likes, comments, subscriptions. It goes such a long way. Please don't forget to subscribe. If you're looking to buy or sell a car, links in the description. And thank you to Peugeot for sending me out the car today. So once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.